Cowboys OT is brought to you by Sleep Number. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeti, officially licensed Yeti Cowboys gear, is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concession, and on Yeti.com. And by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com.
The Dallas Cowboys defense that entered Week 8 as one of the worst in the NFL gives up a season-high 44 points allowed in the elevation of the Mile High City in Denver, Colorado. The Broncos defeat the Dallas Cowboys 44-24, the final score in Week 8. Welcome into Cowboys OT from the Globe Life Studios at the Star in Frisco, alongside Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, and Kyle Yeomans. There's plenty to break down in this football game because there's not just one element of this game that went wrong for Dallas. The penalties were a factor. The execution was a factor. And to be completely honest, Denver was the better team on the other side. So talent was a factor. Isaiah, where would you start as you begin to break down what happened in Denver today?
I would start with accountability. That's where I would start. Everybody, you look everybody in their room, look them in their eye and say, I need everybody to watch this film and take accountability for what you could have done better. Period, point blank. Offense, defense, special teams. That's at the offensive line, defensive line. Every single position group needs to be able to go look at themselves and identify where they could have been better. Obviously, they all fell short. Everybody fell short. There's no need to point fingers because everybody that was on that field today could have done better and contributed more to help your team and potentially change this outcome.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, everybody had a piece in this one. And as great as that team win was last week against the Commanders, I mean, it was just as ugly this week against Denver. I mean, whatever they had game plan-wise for Dak Prescott and his offense, that Denver defense executed to perfection. Whether it was the pass rush, getting after Dak Prescott, or the skies in the back end, kind of confusing the routes and confusing the basically the connection that Dak Prescott had with his two wide receivers. I mean, it was on point. You saw two interceptions that Dak Prescott normally does not throw. I mean, he looked like he was panicked back there. And defensively, we talked about it leading up to the game. You got to be able to do the basics. You got to be able to communicate out there. You got to be able to tackle well out there. If you're supposed to be in the A-gap, be in the A-gap. Trust that your teammates are going to do their job as well. I've seen too many times with this defense where guys will be in the A-gap and, I think I can make this play on the outside, and they try to play hero ball, and that's what allows explosive plays to be brought up on your defense. You got to get it together defensively, and offensively, they were just outplayed as a whole.
I agree with you 100%. This run game, 108 yards, 3.5 yards a carry, 31 carries. That's not good enough on the road against a team like Denver who loves to stop the run, which was just tremendous for them. But what gets me is week in and week out, we hear around how we need this and we need that. No, what we need is to gather up on a defense, each man hold himself accountable, and stop the run. You're going to have to be good somewhere. It can't be maybe in the pass, maybe in the run. We give up 179 yards. Every time we hit the road, it's almost 200 yards rushing. 6 point this, 7 point that. Coach Eberflus, if I'm you, man, just run a clinic on how to stop the run. Don't worry about the pass. Just stop the run, because if you can run the ball, then you can dictate how I'm going to play against you. Yeah, the defense cannot continue to have over 180 yards a week every time they hit the road.
And you could even hear Tony Romo toward the tail end of the broadcast saying about Coach Eberflus, he would have a tough time doing the same thing with what Eberflus has had to work with to this point. That'll be a conversation as the week goes on. Let's take a look at how this one unfolded from Empower Field at Mile High. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys looking for their first win against the Denver Broncos since 1995. Opening drive of the game, Bo Nix, who's had a great start to the season, driving and throws behind his receiver. Kwesi Bridges is there, his first pick of his career. This would lead to a Dallas field goal from Brandon Aubrey. Just a bad throw from Nix there behind the receiver. Bridges able to take advantage. However, Denver would take control from then on out. From 40 yards out, R.J. Harvey weaving through the defense, rushing all the way into the end zone. His first score of the day has Denver on the board. Then after a quick 3-and-out, Bo Nix finds his former college teammate Troy Franklin over the top of the Dallas defense right at the goal line. 4-6, it's 14-3 Denver at the end of one. Dallas would answer early in the second. Javonte Williams scores this one. He continues his hot start to the season as he scores against his former team here in the second. But again, Denver would answer again with back-to-back scores. This one from 1 yard out would put Denver back up 20-10. Then after another Dallas 3-and-out, it was Bo Nix again, lofting this one up back of the end zone for the rookie Pat Bryant, who was a highly touted prospect out of Illinois this past draft process. However, Nix really made that happen with the throw over the top. Bridges in coverage on that one. It was 27-10 Denver at the halftime break. Into the third quarter we go. Dallas would score on their opening drive of the second half to keep them within striking distance. After a fourth down conversion, it was Javonte Williams again from 1 yard out. Denver would tack on a field goal in the third, but take a 30-17 lead into the final frame. Dallas within striking distance until this Franklin touchdown really put it out of reach. It was 37-17, and then in the red zone, Dak Prescott pressured, throws it to a defensive lineman. It's intercepted by the Broncos, and by that point, it was over. Both teams would trade touchdowns in the fourth quarter. A long return after this interception for Denver, and that would really be it. 44-24 the final as Sean Payton gets the win against Brian Schottenheimer, two guys that have known each other for a long, long time in this league. Here are the final stats brought to you by Miller Lite. 44-24 the final. Again, third down efficiency not acceptable. Passing yards were down this week because of the pressure Dak Prescott faced. We'll talk about that later in the show. And then those penalties, circle that 9 for 80 down at the bottom. Not good from Dallas in that area as well. When we come back, we're going to hear about what happened at Mile High Stadium today. Brian Schottenheimer takes to the podium to talk about the 20-point loss here in Week 8.
This segment is brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
44-24, the final score from Denver, Colorado, in Empower Field at Mile High. The Cowboys were looking for their first win against the Broncos since 1995 and their first in Denver since 92. They'll have to wait a little bit longer. Let's hear from Coach Schottenheimer as he takes to the podium after the loss.
I think, when you look at it, I'm not just going to start with the defense. I don't think any of us coached or played well enough. We knew we'd have to come in and own the line of scrimmage.
Hey, Cody, what are the...
I think it started up front. You got to give Denver a lot of credit. I think they moved us around pretty good. Had some big explosive runs, and that's hard. But, I told the guys, I said, look, it's one game. We did not play well. We did not coach well. We're going to get right back to work tonight. And if you let it bleed over into 2 and 3 games, then that means you're not a competitor, because this happens in this league.
We got 3 points in that first possession. We look back and say, maybe we should have had 7. Then the second possession, we had some penalties there.
Yeah, definitely. A chance for sudden change. We get the turnover right away. We're down there on the half-yard line. I didn't see the penalty. But, the discipline, has to be better. I felt like there was 4 or 5 pre-snap penalties in the first half that definitely hurt us. You come into a tough place to play like this, you have to do a great job of having the discipline, and you got to score touchdowns in the red zone because there's big momentum gains that happens when you do that. So, unfortunately, we did not do that. I thought the guys fought. I thought they battled. But at the end of the day, we did not coach or play well enough today to beat a good football team.
Clarence Hill, DLLS Cowboys. You talk about Dak's play. Thought a key turning point was certainly at the end of the half when he took a chance down the middle. Maybe had a field goal in your back pocket. Was he pressing, or because you had to score touchdowns, that self-fulfilled?
I don't think so. I think we all felt it. Clarence. It was one of those deals where it was hard to get into a rhythm a little bit. They played us 2-man, and he had a chance to go down the middle on Fergie, and it was, I think, the rookie, Barron, kind of looked back and got it. But I don't think so. I think, at the end of the day, Dak's done a great job of trying to just say each play is its own, and, I don't think that. I think that, just But we have to win the takeover battle. You know, we didn't do that. You know, we've been doing that really, really well. And so, you know, you have the one right before the half, then you have the other one right, you know, down there late when we're fighting our butts off, try to get back in it. And that's not who we are. But, no, I don't think that it had him pressing or anything like that.
You get a game like this and know you have to match touchdown for touchdown score because the way your defense was certainly playing early, you have to score with them.
Yeah, we feel like we can play, you know, with anybody, no matter how the game goes. We really do. And again, unfortunately, today we did not capitalize. I really do think the first drive that we had, I think, you know, we need to come away with 7 there. That was disappointing that we didn't. But again, this is a good football team. Talking about us, that did not play very well today. We did not coach very well today. I wasn't very good today. I don't think Flus thinks he was very good today. You know. Clayton doesn't think he was very, very good today. So we'll look at it. We're going to look at it on the plane, and we've got the extra day this week to get ready for Arizona, and that's what we're going to do. That's what good teams do. I told the guys that. I said good teams, you know, they look at it, they look in the mirror. Adversity is a good thing, you know, and no one likes to lose, and it's a humbling league when you come in here and you play a good football team and you kind of get beat the way we did, but get back to work.
Brian Todd, Archer, ESPN. 3-4-1, and you're saying you're a good football team. How do those two things match up?
Yeah, I think, you know, I see us every day, Todd. You know, I do see us every day. I see what we're capable of. Here's the word that's coming back again, consistency. You know, we're not very consistent, and we have to be more consistent, you know. Last week we did a great job stopping the run. You know, tonight we didn't, and so therein lies a problem. Last couple games, we've been protecting the football, which has given us a chance. Tonight, we didn't. So I think we're a talented football team. I know we have things to get better at and improve on, but I do think we're a good football team. And we played a good football team tonight and didn't play well. And so, again, I'm going to give them credit, and they deserve it.
Coach Brian Schottenheimer following the loss, 44-24, the final against the Denver Broncos. You can hear all of Schotty on the YouTube channel after the fact and on DallasCowboys.com alongside former Cowboys Barry Church, Nate Newton, and Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. This is Cowboys OT. Isaiah, your thoughts on Brian Schottenheimer talking about what he saw in this matchup early and how really things just snowballed for Dallas early and they weren't able to get any sort of control on that football game.
Yeah, one thing I do have for Coach Schottenheimer is a high regard because he doesn't make any excuses. He sat up there and told you guys, hey, we were pretty much, in so many words, we were trash today. You know, we got outplayed. They did everything right. We did everything wrong. We have a lot of things to clean up. They were the better team. That's facts. It's no different than what we're sitting here telling you guys right now. So I love to see that from the head coach. And the thing is, he just had to find a way to stop having to say this every other week.
Yeah,
that's what you're running into.
Yes, sir.
That's the thing that this team, needs to figure out, the consistency. You can't be, great at home and then you go on the road and nothing shows up. You can't get beaten all 3 phases of the football game and expect to win games on the road. But I agree with you when you talk about Schottenheimer. I like his message to the players. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He understood that the players got, outplayed, and the coaches as well. They got outcoached. I mean, the scheme that Denver had defensively was immaculate. Offensively, they picked on, the guys that they had backups in the secondary for the Dallas Cowboys, and they took advantage of it. So it comes down simple as that. He understands that once they get back, they got an extra day to prepare because they play Arizona on Monday. They got to get in the film room, correct what they did wrong, and go out there and move forward as a team. But there's no sugarcoating when it comes to Schottenheimer, and I respect that message.
So I understand both of you guys, what you said, what Coach Schotty said, but when does it stop?
Yeah, that's true.
When does it stop? I mean, I ain't no bigger fan than Coach Schottenheimer than Nate Newton, but that cannot be the message. The message is you got an interception. You went down on away. You supposed to come away with 7 points. You got fly down there, you got cute, and you got backed up, then you get a penalty. Now you get 3 points. You don't do that. You go down, you let Javonte Williams run the ball in. You on even ground. You letting them know where you stand. Your defense, you go out, you stop the run, and you go from that point. And now it's tit for tat. Now you're giving your offense a chance. That's how I see it.
Almost the exact same way Dallas defeated Washington last week was the way that Denver defeated Dallas this week. And you even just run it down schedule-wise. Loss, win, loss, tie, win, loss, win, loss.
The roller coaster.
That's the definition of inconsistency.
Yeah.
That is exactly what it is. And to be completely fair, you return home against Arizona this week on Monday Night Football. You can't sleepwalk into that game, but you should probably win that football game based off of some of the things we've seen this year. So it might be the other way around again. Dallas is hoping. That's the fact going into the bye week. Cowboys now at 3-4-1. When we come back, we hear from Dak Prescott what went wrong on the offensive side of the football as the Cowboys were negated up in the Mile High City.
This segment was brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, surprised for sure. It's a good word to use. Frustrated as well, frustrating. Yeah, as you said, right, what we've been doing, what we're capable of doing, didn't really ever get it going. Having an opportunity right there in the first drive of getting down there in the red zone, being able to have a chance to put 7 up and settling for a field goal, that was the start of it. And the rest just kind of followed that, and us not making the plays that was necessary. And credit to those guys. Credit to Coach Joseph, defensive coordinator, making it tough on us. And they got the best of us, that's for sure.
Protected the ball pretty good today. You threw 2 picks to one to Ferguson. You just pressing you if you can take us through that one, and you had another one also inside red zone.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a force. That one right before half. They're playing 2-man. Was working the slant to the left. 2-man inside leverage wasn't there. Came back and was hoping that, maybe me and Ferg, right, could just kind of make a ball player's play, and the DB made the better play. He turned faster than I wanted him to. Ferg was more on top of him, so the back shoulder wasn't quite the throw, and that's what I threw. And he made the catch, and just a force right there. And then the one later is just pure miscommunication. CD wanted to go around the guy and keep going. I was expecting him to sit it down right and just kind of trust throw it right there. The guy made a hell of a play, and so that's just got to be on the same page, especially in the red zone, especially in a game like this when we're trying to come back and get in the end zone. So 2 unacceptable plays, really.
Yeah, Clarence Hill, DLLS Cowboys, we've talked several times about the pressure of having to keep up, and often having to score.
Yeah.
Going back to that play through the half, you had a field goal in the back pocket pretty much.
Yep.
And you get the ball to start the second half. But it seemed like I'm not settling for a field goal, 30 seconds left, I'm trying to make a big play down the field.
Yeah, well,
that one of those situations where I want to score a touchdown, not necessarily settle for a field goal.
Yeah, definitely pressed there. I wouldn't say that was trying to, let's go get a touchdown, but definitely was trying to make the field goal easier, was trying to get more than what I still think we probably needed 5 or so. Maybe we didn't need anything, right, with Brandon, but trying to make it easier on him. Like I said, I was really working a slant. Slant wasn't there. Great defensive call there. And 2-man was a great call versus the play that we had. And like I said, I forced the throw and wasn't the type of throw that was required in that situation, and really should have just got off of that and progressed. And so, yeah, to your point, that was one of those of, being frustrated, trying to keep up, and just can't do that, period.
Lots of learning moments from Dak Prescott following the 44-24 loss to Denver. When we come back, take a look at how he was pressured in this matchup and how it went south. Welcome back into Cowboys OT from the Star in Frisco. The Cowboys fall to the Denver Broncos in Week 8 with Barry Church, Nate Newton, and Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Let's take a deep dive into what happened on the offensive side of the football, specifically in the passing game. We'll talk more about the rushing attack later in the show. But Dak Prescott held to one of his worst stat lines of the year, and it's the first time in 5 weeks that he's had a game where he had 1 an interception and 2 less than 3 touchdown passes. You've heard that stat thrown around a little bit throughout. But Isaiah, when you looked at what Dak did today, what was the microcosm of what went wrong on the Dallas side?
First of all, they didn't have a running game. We talked about in the pregame show how important a running game is to Dak Prescott's success. They were ineffective with that today consistently. Also is the pressure. You see it right there, Nick Bonito and the rest of the crew up front. Those guys caused a lot of havoc. They won the line of scrimmage. They kicked the offensive line of Dallas's butt, and because of that, Dak had no time. And when you couple that with the fact that their DBs are good, that's a recipe for disaster for Dallas.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's why a great pass rush is always the best friend of a guy in the secondary. Because even when you have two dynamic receivers on the outside, like a George Pickens, like a CeeDee Lamb, when you got that pass rush that's able to harass a quarterback down in and down out, it makes it extremely hard for them to find those dynamic players on the outside. And it makes it so much easier for a corner or a safety to just sit on routes and say, hey, man, your quarterback doesn't have the time back there for these routes to develop, these big game-breaking routes to develop. So you sit back there, you wait your time, and eventually the quarterback's going to throw you one. That's why, the defenses I played a part of that were great always had that ferocious pass rush out there. They were able to harass the quarterback, and I'm sitting back there like, yeah, I'll take these when they come my way.
I was going to ask you, I feel like you would probably know it off the top of your head. What was your best year overall in the NFL?
Oh, without a doubt, 2017 in Jacksonville. You had Calais Campbell. I mean, you had Yannick Ngakoue, guys that can just get after the quarterback.
What was the nickname of that defense?
Oh, it was the Jackson 5.
It was Jackson 5?
Well, the secondary with the Jackson 5.
Okay, I always thought of that as Saxonville.
It was Saxon. They had their thing in the front seven. We had our thing in the back. We were the Jackson 5. That was Saxonville up top. But overall, I mean, it was a great defense. It made my life a heck of a lot easier.
Now, today for Dak specifically, they were going up against the #1 pass rush. You knew that was the case. Without the play-action game and without any threat of a rushing attack, how did you feel like the offensive line upheld in front of him, Nate? Because there were times where there was a lot of pressure up front, and it wasn't necessarily on Dak or the scheme. It was just mano-a-mano against those guys.
Just a C plus at best. What you saw there was not, they only got 2 sacks, but what you saw was harassment. All you want to do when you're Denver is knock a guy off his spot, because now your DBs are good enough to either intercept or knock the ball out. They just kept Dak moving around, kept him off his spot, couldn't find a rhythm with the 2 great receivers that he had.
Yeah, and a lot of times you're going to face defenses, at least in this day and age of the NFL, that aren't going to be able to man up on those guys outside. George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, Isaiah, this was a team that had the talent to man up on them outside.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, their 2 cornerbacks are absolutely amazing. Patrick Surtain didn't even play half the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, their corners are amazing, but that, like to Barry's point, that front 7, man, if you can get to the quarterback, it's hard. It is very difficult. There's only so much time. You have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, and yeah, you hear all the hoorah about them, and it's due, right? It's due to them. But if you only have 2 seconds to get the ball off, 2.5 seconds to get the ball off, that's not enough time to run a route versus a press coverage. It's just not. You can't create the separation, especially when they're forcing Dak to get off his mark. Now he has to throw inaccurately, and now if you're throwing inaccurately, then the ball's not where it needs to be. And now I'm asking my receivers to make Houdini catches versus sticky coverage.
And remember, their linebackers and DBs had perfect communication all day, no matter what, how many times we motion, how many times we move guys, they stayed intact. That is key. Communication was key.
Yeah, great point all the way around. It was not pretty on the offensive side, but what did Jerry Jones have to say about the 44-24 loss to the Denver Broncos? He just wrapped up finishing and speaking with the media. We're going to talk about it when we come back.
I really want to congratulate this ownership group. They've really come in here over these last 3 years, and they've really turned this thing around. Their entire enthusiasm of the fans, the team, and that was formidable for us out there tonight. They beat us physically. Their lines beat us, but their overall team, they did it with a young quarterback. My hat's off to them. Great win for them. We all know that we think a lot of Sean Payton. It was a big win for them. We had high hopes because we thought we could come in here and have a big win for us. That didn't happen. They had everything to do with it. We got to get better.
Jerry, the inconsistency with this team winning one week, losing the other has been pretty staggering. How do you evaluate your team right now, 8 games in?
Well, I am not happy at all with winning 3 ball games at all. And that starts really for what our goals are. Can we play better? Of course we can play better. But we knew coming in here, their fronts, both their defense and offensive front, was going to be a challenge for us. And we needed to offensively be able to play against a real big-time defense and they played well, their defense. So I'm more impressed with how they handled us, our offense, because it was up front that made a lot of difference there. Secondly, I thought that we could stop them better defensively. We all saw the same thing out there. We've got a lot of work to do.
Your defense showed some strides against the Commanders. Your defense played better against the Commanders. Does that make it even tougher to watch, the fact that they couldn't play well at all today?
Well, at this juncture, you would look at it from the standpoint of how do we go forward and how do we play better. And again, I've said all along, you've got to, out there, you've got to step up and against the running game. I think we had 10 or 11 plays at almost the half or halfway through the second quarter, over 10 yards or more in the play. And we've got to come up and do a better job of run stopping. We knew that if we didn't do that on that front, that it was going to be a long day for us, and that's what it was.
A lot of penalties hurt you to Jerry.
Jerry Jones following the 44-24 loss to the Denver Broncos, and you could hear some of the frustration there at the beginning. Did a good job of kind of evening out the emotions there, but what he said was true. They were out physical, they were outplayed, and they were out talented on the field today. Penalties played a factor, execution played a factor, and talent. All three things meshed together for what was one of the more lopsided losses that the Cowboys have suffered this year. Isaiah, your thoughts as you hear what Jerry had to say?
Yeah, I heard two things. I heard that we all saw the same thing out there, and we have a long way to go. Mm-hmm. That was statement number one that really stuck out for me, which means that you're looking at it. We just played a playoff caliber team. We're not that. That's what I took away from that statement. The next statement I heard was that at this junction of the season, we need to be better than where we are, which indicates to me that changes are coming.
And, hopefully some of those changes are getting some of those guys that have been injured throughout the season back into the lineup. We talked about it earlier. When your talent isn't, up to par with the team you're going against, you have to do all the basic things and you have to do all the small things right. And that means you can't have pre-snap penalties. You can't have guys missing tackles. And you most for sure cannot have lapses in the secondary when you talk about, mental errors and those type of mistakes. If your leverage is on the outside, you got to stay on the outside. I mean, there was just too many things. If you got contained, you got to stay outside and contain the rush. I mean, there's just too many things that are self-inflicting for this team right now to go out there and get W's against I won't want to say more powerful, but a more talented team out there. You can't make the basic mistakes out there and think you're going to go out there and win the ball game.
Barry, something that I saw in the game today on film that I just can't understand as an offensive player, run fits. Like, can you, I don't want to make an excuse for it, but can you explain why that might be a problem for some of the defenders? Because it's obvious that guys are covering up the same lane and not covering up every running game.
When it comes down to the running game defensively, everybody has a gap. You all understand. Everybody has an A, B, C gap when it comes to running fits. You got to have that mentality to go in there and say, I'm going to put my head in there and I'm going to go ahead and make this tackle. You can't depend on other guys to go out there and do your job for you. And I'm talking to the secondary in this regard. All right. There was too many times we saw that the Denver Broncos were forcing the corners for the Dallas Cowboys to tackle out there. And there was too many times where we saw guys saying, well, you know what? I'm going to let that defensive tackle make the play. I'm going to let that linebacker go out there and make the play. Instead of going in there and sticking your head in there and making the play yourself. We saw it too many times. Guys just sticking on blocks. Somebody else will make the play. You got to be a part of this defense. It's a unit together, man, to go in there and make this play. It's all about mentality when you're talking about the run game. And right now, that secondary, they don't have it. They don't have that mentality to go in there and get their head and get physical. And that's what you need with an Eberflus defense. The film doesn't lie. They're going to see it out there plainly when they get back here and they watch the tape. You're going to see it plainly. And you'll see those cornerbacks, I don't want to say ducking, but they weren't trying to go in there and face the fire when you talk about hitting the run game.
That's real stuff when you're watching this game, and that's the type of stuff that they're going to have to fix in the film room as well and on the practice field starting this week and a longer week going into the Monday Night Football matchup with Arizona next time around. When we come back, it was a return to Denver for Javonte Williams. He scored twice, but Dallas struggled to get the run game going. We'll hear from him in the locker room next.
bittersweet when you get in the end zone twice. It's your former home, and I know you wanted to play well here, but in the way that the team played overall, how do you take it all in and everything that happened to you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we could have played better overall. I wish we would have won. But, I mean, it turned out the way it did. We gotta execute better and get ready for next week.
What did it feel like when you came on the field here in Denver, a place that you have so many memories?
Yeah, I mean, it felt familiar because I've been here I was there for 4 years. But, I mean, it was just another game for me.
Whose jersey did you end up getting?
Malcolm Roach.
How can you explain kind of the up and down nature of this team from one week to the next?
Yeah, we just got to be more consistent. We got everything that we need. We just got to put it all together. And, I mean, you can't just do it one game and not do it the next game. We got to be more consistent if we want to go where we want to go.
What's running there inside and just what that does to kind of open up play action and stuff like that? It seemed like it was tough sledding in the middle.
Yeah, they got a great defense. I feel like we could have executed a little bit better. Probably more communication. Just small things. We was lacking on the details today. We just got to get better.
The pass rush is something that's really good, too, and you're a part of the pass, picking up the blitzing and all that. Was it what you expected? Were they maybe a little better at that even than what you all expected? What was that like out there?
Yeah, pretty much what we expected. Those two guys on the edge are great players, even the backups. The entire D-line, actually the entire defense, they play well together. The secondary holds up to allow them time to get to the quarterback. So, I mean, we could have protected better, but overall, we just got to get back to the drawing board and execute next week.
Javonte, you guys have been so good at home. On the road, you guys have had a little bit more inconsistencies. How do you kind of go about fixing that? And how much does playing on the road with this kind of environment maybe play into that?
Yeah, we just got to execute better. I don't know if it's communication or what it is, but I feel like we got to get to how we play at home on the road.
You heard it there from Javonte Williams. Got to find a way to play on the road like they do at home. And we'll talk about establishing the ground game when we come back.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
Cowboys fall flat in Denver in the Mile High City. It's 44-24 as the final score. Back with Barry, Nate, and Isaiah. I'm Kyle Yeomans. More Cowboys OT here from the Star in Frisco. And Nate, I'll start with you on this one. You've talked about the importance of establishing the run. Let's talk about how they were unable to do that today on the Cowboys side of things. And give credit to the defensive line for Denver. Like Jerry Jones said, like Dak Prescott said, Coach Schottenheimer alluded to it. They controlled the line of scrimmage, and in doing so, shut down the Cowboys' ability to run the football.
Yes, just like the Carolina game, they had five good defensive linemen that did what they had to do, and it came here versus Denver. You needed to be able to run the ball, and you needed to be successful, at least 4.5 yards of average to make this thing work and click for Dak on offense, and it just didn't get done today.
Nate, I have to ask you played for some great offensive lines, right? Units. Because offensive line is a unit. It doesn't matter about the individuals. When you had a game collectively that was as demoralizing as what they faced today, both in the run attempt and the inability to pass protect, like how do you look at that on film as a unit?
You just got to search yourself. It ain't a unit thing now because you done made this thing individual because there's some players that broke down at the wrong time. You got a rhythm that you're trying to gain as a unit, but you have to do your one-on-one battles. You have to handle that yourself.
Yeah, when it came to the run game for me, I was surprised. I understand that Denver has that fierce front seven. We talk about the defensive line, linebackers running, hitting, they're all over the place. But I'm surprised at the minimal amount of carries that Javonte Williams had. I understand, the game kind of got away in the second half, but there was a time there where you could have kept the balance going. And for me to have, for Javonte to only have, 13 rushes out there, for me, that's not enough. I'd like to see, I know they're trying to get Blue more involved as a rookie and get him experience out there, but when Javonte has it rolling like that, you would want to stick with the hot hand, in my opinion at least. And Javonte has been rolling pretty much all season long, so I was surprised about how minimal carries that he had in this game against his fierce defense.
I am going to laugh a little bit here because you did misspeak there, but there was a little bit of truth. You said 13 carries for me.
Oh,
and
man.
it's because Javonte Williams is on all of Barry's fantasy teams, and he needed him to have a big day today, and it did not go well.
This is
so
true.
It was just like a slight misspeak, and you corrected yourself immediately. But as soon as I thought about it, I was like, that's because Barry, he thought it was for me.
He's a part of my team, man.
All right. He said, I needed that, and it didn't work out for me today. Isaiah, the run game, it just wasn't there from Dallas. It wasn't efficient, but there really wasn't an efficient side of this game anywhere for the Cowboys.
Yeah, and I just like to clarify, Barry only plays fantasy for bragging rights, okay?
This
is very true.
NFL regulations.
This is true.
I'm glad you clarified.
No daily, all right?
The running game, I'm with Barry. I think this was a Javonte Williams night. I know there was no no payback. This was not no redemption story, but you did want to give him an opportunity to get going. And you know that so much of your offense is predicated on your ability to run the ball. Dak Prescott is most effective when you're able to run the ball. So to sit back and take that away from him, I know that you mentioned trying to get Blue involved. This wasn't the game. I just, you know what I'm saying? I think this was not the game to get Blue involved that much. You know, Blue had 8 carries. You know, Javonte Williams had 13. That's not the distribution that I would like to see unless there was something that Javonte Williams was showing you that you didn't like. But you gave him the ball 13 times. He scored 2 times. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think that you could have given him the ball a little bit more. This game did get out of hand at one point in time, and because the game gets out of hand, you're not going to rush the ball as much. But to your point, Barry, there was a point in time in this game where you were down 2 scores where you could have still had some form of balance. Maybe it wouldn't have been 50-50, but you would have had a better distribution on the ground versus in the air.
I'm glad you brought up the use of Blue and what he did on the offensive side. Had a big fumble in the middle, too. Luckily recovered by Brock Hoffman. Great job by Brock to hop on that ball. And you saw some of the explosiveness. That was my question, though, is how do you balance what he did in this matchup against the Broncos?
I just think that Blue is the changeup. I'm not if Javonte Williams looks at you and says, hey, coach, I need one, that's when Blue comes in, right? Like genuinely, Javonte Williams is the second best rusher in the league right now.
One of,
He's behind Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah. Every time you hit the road, and I said every time I say 25, 35, I'm joking about the 35, but I'm not joking about the 25.
Yeah.
And so every time we hit the road, 25, coach should be looking like, hey, man, make sure you get massage, whirlpool,
whatever you need.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It really is that serious because when you're able to run the ball, and the big fella sitting here telling you, you get your offensive line going and they get confident moving guys out the way, and now those linebackers have to start playing downhill, and now Barry at the safety position has to start being a little bit heavy on his front leg, worrying about coming downhill. Now they have to worry. Now they forget about those guys on the outside, right? But if you don't allow that ground game to get going, Dak doesn't have play action. Jake Ferguson can't get out of his play action. He had one pass attempt, one receiving attempt. That was it. Only one target today. And then now you CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens don't get to eat. They had some receptions, right? But they weren't dominant in the way in which you would like to see them. One of them at least be dominant. They took away the entire middle of your field. You had nobody there, and you had a handful of catches from both of your big-time receivers. They dictated the flow of this game. And going back, I would imagine that the coaches are going to say, we probably should have ran it a little bit more. Yeah. I mean, and that's hindsight is 20/20, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, and now you got to find a way to learn from it and get better. And you've got an extra day of practice to get ready for the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football next week. When we come back, we preview that matchup and we take a look ahead of where the Cowboys need to improve quickly after the 44-24 loss to Denver.
To watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. Cowboys OT was brought to you by Sleep Number. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeti, officially licensed Yeti Cowboys gear, is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concession, and on Yeti.com. And by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com.
Hey, did you feel like that it snowballed a little bit with the way that it started early. I think it was probably a little bit of a frustrating day out there.
Yeah, just self-inflicting wounds, especially in the first half, and the game got away from us.
The fact that you all played so well last week, I mean, I know you wanted to build on that. Is the inconsistency frustrating too? Because you guys have shown that you can be a good defense in any game like last week.
Yeah, just a lot of inconsistencies, and just something that we got to continue to stay together and correct at the end of the day. So we got to just start with tomorrow, getting the corrections, and then coming back Wednesday and just hitting the ground running with it.
You're a veteran in this league.
One of the veterans on that defensive side of the football saying the Cowboys have to get back after it this week as they get ready to face the Arizona Cardinals in Week 9 of the NFL season. Wrapping up things on Cowboys OT with Barry Church, Nate Newton, and Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. 44-24 the final. Isaiah, where did the Cowboys start to turn this thing around with an extra day of practice this week?
Just what you just heard Kenny Clark say. It starts with watching film tomorrow. Watch the film tomorrow, get it corrected. You get your grade sheets from your coach telling you whether plus or minus. Take it to heart. And Big Nate Dogg already said, look at yourself in the mirror as individual. You might play for a unit, but look at yourself first.
Yeah, you got to look at yourself. You got to look at this tape out there and correct what you did wrong. And like you said, you got to take it to heart. Have some pride about yourself on the name on the back of your jersey. But not only that, what Nate was talking about earlier when it comes to the coaching staff, you got to figure out which threat offensively you want to shut down. All right, you just can't give up both ways. You can't give up the run and the pass. You got to figure out which side or which threat the offense poses that you want to shut down. Be great against the run. You may be a little bit against the pass. You might give up a little bit. Be great against the pass. You may give up a little bit on the run. But you can't have offenses have both ways out there. That's a surefire way to get beat.
Just check yourself. You listen to what the coach say, but everything gonna be all right. We'll get back to work. Nah, it ain't simply that. It's you as an individual got to look within yourself and say, what do I need to change? And when you go to practice, you start changing it.
And that's one way to do it with that extra day of practice. The Cowboys at 3-4-1. They're taking on a desperate team in their own right that's coming off of a bye week. Arizona started 2-0 early in the season. They had the win over against the Saints, win over against the Panthers, and then they lose 5 straight prior to the bye week to the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Titans, the Colts, and the Packers. So a tough schedule for the most part, but they've lost 5 straight. And when you look at what they've done, Isaiah, I know you've done some film study on them already. What do they bring to the table?
I mean, you got to worry about Trey McBride. You got to worry about Marvin Harrison Jr. I think they're going to try to find a way to get those guys the ball more frequently than what they have.
Yeah, and in all 5 of those losses, 1 point, 3 points, 1 point, 4 points, 4 points.
Yep. So they're fighting.
All 5 of them, they're right in the middle of it.
Fighting.
Expect a dogfight at AT&T Stadium, Monday Night Football coming up in Week 9. That's going to do it for us here on Cowboys OT. Once again, the final score in Denver. The Cowboys fall 44-24 the final. The Cowboys are now 3-4-1. For Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, and our entire Dallas Cowboys crew, I'm Kyle Yeomans saying so long. We'll see you next week with more Cowboys OT.